I made this PowerPoint presentation specifically for people that don't know a lot about ADUs or want to learn more about ADUs. And I pretty much cover a lot of topics that you might, questions you guys might ask if you're building one or looking to build one. So if we can save questions for the end, we'll do a Q&A at the end. But again, I'll cover quite a few stuff. And let me minimize this so you guys can see that. So first off, this is the overview of what we're going to cover here. When you guys see these pictures throughout the slide, these are all ADUs we've done. So all the pictures that are in this PowerPoint is stuff that we've done in the past. So you'll see that as we go throughout. Number one is who is ADU West Coast. I'll explain who we are, kind of introduce you to our team. What is an ADU? I'll go through the exact specifics of that and what makes an ADU, what type of stuff you have to put in there in order to get permitted as an ADU. I'll show some pictures and videos of ADUs we've done, some of the benefits of ADUs, some of the major 2020 law changes. That's when everything changed as far as the ADU landscape, which I'll cover. Average cost ADUs, what to look for, which will bring that up and down. This is always changing. I haven't seen it go down recently at all in the last few years. I just see this continuing to rise. So again, I'll talk about that. And then at the end, different financing programs that we see. And then, like I said, at the very end, we'll do a Q&A in case you guys have any questions. So first off, who is ADU West Coast? It's made of 4 main partners. We work with more people than that, but as far as the initial team who started the company, it's us 4. Chung Lam is a structural engineer and GC with 10 plus years of construction development experience. Ron Householder, he's been in mortgage and real estate for 20 plus years before getting into construction and development. I used to be in real estate about 6 years ago until I started shifting towards doing more development stuff. And then Chi is actually Chung's brother. He's an architectural designer with over 15 years of experience. Reason I put this in here, it's 2 custom homes that we built in downtown Huntington. We split this lot and built these custom homes. Again, the reason I'm showing you that is that was our background before getting into ADUs. So we were designing and building custom homes. We still might do like one a year or so, but again, all our focus right now is just doing ADUs. So what is an ADU? I'm sure a lot of you already know, but legally, in the eyes of the city, an ADU is a second or third house complete with independent living facilities, which includes a kitchen, a bathroom, etc., for 1 or more persons. So again, very important, it has to have a kitchen and it has to have a bathroom. Those are the 2 things that it needs in order to get permitting. Obviously, you need some more stuff than that, but they're not going to let you convert your garage into just a living space without a kitchen or without a bathroom. Down below here, ADUs stand for Accessory Dwelling Unit. You've probably also heard names such as Granny Flat, Grandpa Flat, mother-in-law quarter, father-in-law quarters. There's a bunch of different names, but the actual legal name is an accessory dwelling unit. Now, this depiction over here to the left shows you the type of ADUs you can build. So we'll start with the top left. Over the garage is going to be really costly because we got to restructure that first floor. Obviously, if you don't have enough room in your backyard or if you don't want to take away your garage space, you're able to do a unit above your garage if you'd like. To the right here is a garage conversion. So you can do an attached garage or a detached garage. It doesn't matter. That is going to be the most cost-effective ADU to build, and it's going to be the most common that we see. Down here is a standalone unit. So if you have enough room in your backyard, which is 4 feet setback from your side and rear lot line, and then anywhere from 6 to 10 feet from your existing structures, as long as you have a footprint within your backyard that you can build a freestanding unit, they're going to allow you to build a freestanding ADU. And then right here to the bottom right, basement or attic conversion. We don't have a lot of basements here like they do in the Midwest. We are, oddly enough, doing one in Highland Park, which is East LA, which is more of a tiered hillside home. So I'll share that, as we go along and finish construction. But that will be our first basement conversion that we're doing. I'm not going to spend too much time on this. Everyone that lives here knows we're in a housing crisis. You can see how far behind we are compared to the population and what type of housing we need. And then you can really look at this graph and see the red is deep red where there's major cities. And again, the reason I'm showing you this is the reason why the 2020 laws were passed is to provide more housing throughout the state. So again, I don't want to cover this too much. We all know how much of a crisis we are in as far as inventory goes. Right here's a couple ADUs that we've done. So if we start to the top left, this was a 400 square foot ADU that we actually attached behind a detached garage. Fun fact, if you attach an ADU to an existing structure, you can avoid having to do solar panels, and you can avoid having to do a soils report. A soils report is going to be required for any freestanding structure in California. That goes for ADUs as well. You're looking at an extra $4,000 to $5,000 just for that soils report. And then again, depending on your ADU, the solar could cost upwards of $12,000. So obviously the client didn't want to pay for the extra cost. So in order to avoid that, we were able to attach this to the detached garage to avoid that. Right here to the right, this is a really nice ADU we did in Whittier. This one's about, I would say, pretty close to 1,000 square feet. The owner's mom is moving back into here, and you can see it's a little bit nicer than our standard garage conversion. And then down below here, this is an ADU we did in South LA. This was a 2-car garage before we converted it. So again, a couple different projects for you guys to look at. Funny enough, I would say about 80% of the ADUs we build on single family lots are for family members. So what else can ADUs be used for? Remember, it has to have a kitchen and it has to have a bathroom, but not to say we haven't seen some of the stuff mentioned here. Elderly care is huge. We see a lot of elders moving back into the unit. So if you see this one we did in Long Beach, this was a ground up ADU we built. Just fun fact, we have to match the stucco with the existing as well as the roof. So you can't build a modern ADU if your front house is a Craftsman and vice versa. But elderly care, this property specifically, we had a grandma move back into here. Music studio is big. Office space became really huge as far as COVID. People were kind of building more of a studio flex space and then renting that out, once they're done. Workout yoga studio, art space, guest house, entertainment area, and then income property. What are some of the benefits? So ADUs can provide a source of income for homeowners. I know a lot of you either own your own property or own rental property. What we're seeing for an average 400 square foot garage conversion is about 1,800 plus for the LAOC area. ADUs allow extended families to be near one another while maintaining privacy. So again, same here. If you look at the bottom right of this depiction, you can see that these are ADUs that are potentially, being built, and these are going to be totally separate structures. So if you wanted to put a wall here and separate this off, you can. Even though it'll be the same parcel, it'll almost act as a separate, totally different area and yard space, which a lot of people do. ADUs allow a more affordable approach to senior living. I touched on that. ADUs give a homeowner an increase in property value. So this is a really important, it's not a set equation. So I can't tell you how much. What I can tell you, it is added square footage, it is an extra bathroom, and it is an extra bedroom. So depending on your area, it really depends on how many ADUs sold within your area, which is how much value they're going to give you. So very similar to a real estate comp when you sell a property. They're looking for any ADUs that have sold in the area as far as like a single family property with an ADU, and that will determine what your value is, okay? ADUs increase the housing supply, especially in urban areas. Again, this goes back to the affordable housing in the major cities where we need it. And then owners can now build 2 more units on a single family R1 zoned property. I'll show you an example of Brian Slater. We did an ADU and we did a junior ADU within one parcel. So he has the same.
And I'll say, Cameron, that was like a big update in legislation, right? Where now you can build 2, because typically you'd be able to build 1 by default just based on legislation. But now you essentially can turn your single family into a triplex, right? By adding 2 more doors, just like Bryant did, and Cameron did the project for that. So I'm excited for you guys to see what that looked like, timeframes and costs.
For sure. And I have a depiction as far as the floor plan of what it looks like from above, as well as a video so you guys can see what that looks like. Okay. And then it's going to help solve part of the housing crisis in California. I think we have too many people here either way, but it'll put a little dent in it. And again, that's the whole reason why they passed these laws. Now, what are some of the city benefits of ADUs? This is important. It counts towards their RHNA, which stands for Regional Housing Needs Assessment and Housing Element Needs. And it counts towards their affordable housing requirements. So these two things, every city throughout the state of California needs to hit a certain goal based upon their population and whatnot. ADUs count towards both of these. So you might wonder why, number one, statewide, they have to follow state guidelines. But even once they leave it up to local jurisdictions to decide for themselves, I think we're still going to see a lot of ADUs being built because of this reason. The only way we can catch up with housing is by doing it on existing parcels. And again, that's why the whole reason why these laws were in place. Down here, conserve a variety of community needs. So the young, the elderly, and the workforce. One thing to touch on about workforce is California is the #1 state throughout the country as far as traveling nurses go. We have a huge demand for traveling nurses. So I have 2 clients. I know Stephanie knows someone that deals with that a lot, but I have 2 clients that are renting to traveling nurses. And for a standard 2-car garage, they're getting about $2,400 for a furnished unit. That's something that.
And just to give them perspective, like what's the size of that, right?
About
that big.
Anywhere from 360 square feet to 400 square feet. So just a simple 1-bedroom unit is yielding that much for a traveling nurse, which is crazy. And then it's going to increase your property taxes. So this is a question I get all the time. The way that it gets increased, it's called a blend assessment. So what happens is your existing tax basis for your home will stay the same as far as what you're taxed on, but there will be an addition. And the way they calculate that is, let's say the cost of construction for an even number is $100,000. That $100,000 will get taxed upon whatever your tax basis is, and that would get added on top. So it ends up being less than $100 a month if you're doing a standard garage conversion. I know that's kind of confusing. We can talk about that after if you have questions. But again, it's called a blend assessment, where it's the cost of construction gets added on to your tax bill, if that makes sense. Again, if you have questions later, we can touch on that. Some of the major 2020 state law changes: the owner no longer has to live on the property to rent it out. That was a big thing before 2020. HOAs must allow ADUs. I can't promise you if you're in an HOA that they're not going to try to fight you or be difficult. We just completed one in Lake Forest. The HOA was fine, but statewide it says that the HOAs must allow ADUs as long as it follows the CC&Rs of the community. No minimum lot size requirement. Before it was about 4,800, I believe. An ADU and a junior ADU can be built. So again, you can potentially have 3 total units on an R1 zoned property. There's some new multifamily ADU laws, which if some of you own multifamily buildings, there's a huge opportunity there, which I have an example, which I can show you later on. Limited parking requirements. So if you're within a half mile of a public transit, which a bus stop counts as a public transit, or if you're converting garage space, there is no parking requirement. So again, half a mile of public transit, or if you're converting existing garage space. Down here, cities cannot override major state law changes. That's huge. There's a guideline called the HCD ADU guideline book, and that's the guidelines that each city has to follow throughout the state. It's a government agency. Again, it's HCD ADU guidelines. I can put that in the chat once we're done.
Yeah, I can do that right now.
Yeah, perfect. And then in most cities, you can build up to 1,200 square feet. Some have tried to limit it to 1,000, like Long Beach on an R1, but most are going up to 1,200, just a heads up. So average cost of ADUs, it's always changing. Again, these are just averages, okay? So if we're doing a simple garage conversion, which again is anywhere from 360 to 400 square feet, you're looking at about 125 to 150K. If we're doing that same structure from the ground up, let's say 400 to 600 square feet, you're looking at about 155 to 225 plus. And then if you're doing that above a garage, I mean, that's going to push pretty high. As I told you, we have to restructure the first floor to support that second story. You're looking at least 220 plus. Again, these are just kind of averages. So, you know, I haven't seen your property. Once we go out, we can assess that and figure out what exactly it costs. But again, these are just some rough numbers for you guys to look at. And again, these are what you should expect to pay for a full scope of the work, design all the way through construction. So here's an inspection list that I do, some things to look at. So how far is the property wall? You know, how close are we going to be building to the property line? Primary setback, how far are we to the primary dwelling unit? Driveway condition, and what type of material is that driveway? Is it all concrete? Is it pavers? Is there a grass area that we can trench down? That's very important. Oops, excuse me. Surrounding grounds. So this is really important as well. For example, we want to know if a garage is elevated down from the street. Reason why is just an example. Your sewer might not have adequate flow to go to the city sewer main. So, or the city lateral, your lateral within your property. So if it does not have proper sewer flow, you might need either a higher raised foundation, or it could require a sewer pump to pump the sewer all the way to the front. So really important to note any elevation changes, hillside, anything like that. If we're doing a garage, we want to know what type of condition the detached garage is in as far as the roof. You know, is there termite damage? Is it leaking? That's all important stuff. Inside structure of the garage, even though we, you know, build it from the inside out, we want to see, you know, what type of condition that's in. See the garage slab. There's always some hairline cracks, which is pretty normal. The dimensions of the garage or backyard. The sewer, again, we always connect to our sewer lateral, which is usually within the front of your property. And then electrical, you know, where are we trenching for that electrical? And then your water and gas connection point. What to look for with costs, again, just to kind of reiterate, electrical, we're going to have to, either way, whether you get a separate meter or not, we're going to have to trench to the current electrical panel. Sewer, we're going to have to trench all the way to the sewer lateral, which again is usually in the front of your property. Raised foundation or slab, sometimes it could be a little bit easier if it's a raised foundation. Condition of the surrounding area, again, look for elevation changes, hillside, anything like that. Condition of the garage if we're doing a garage conversion. Here's some rental scenarios. So I know a lot of you, again, own property or own rentals. This is pretty much everything we've seen our clients do or plan on doing. So scenario one, live in the main house, which would be right here, and rent the ADU out for $1,800 plus. Again, that's for a standard 2-car garage. That's what we're seeing. Live in the ADU and rent the main single family. This is becoming a lot more popular. We see a lot of people that, let's say their kids moved off, or they want to kind of downsize. Well, they're keeping their property and they're customizing the ADU for themselves, and they're renting the front house out, which is, you know, a 3 or 4 bedroom for, let's say, $3,200, $4,000 a month, whatever your area yields. These are just examples, but I would say this is becoming a lot more popular. Number 3 is you can rent both the ADU and the single family out, and you know, go on vacation, go live somewhere else part of the year. But a lot of people are starting to do this as well. So here is a video of Bryant's actually, and it's just, I didn't get the junior ADU. I wasn't able to upload it in time because I'm still waiting on some pictures, but this will give you an example. This is a 450 square foot garage. And I put this music on because I heard me breathing, so that's why we got the music. But you can see the type of material we use, shaker cabinets, luxury vinyl plank. We always put a stackable washer and dryer in there. But again, this was an existing garage before, and we just used the existing garage space.
Yeah, I really like those bathrooms. Those bathrooms were very well done. Those were nice.
And so hopefully that gives you an idea. Again, that was about 450 square feet, and that was a 2-car garage before that we did. So hopefully that gives you an idea of what we can do. Again, you can kind of see here, that's where the junior ADU is. I do have a video, it's just not uploaded to YouTube yet. So If you guys want to follow later on, I'll upload that. That way you can see that. Sorry, let me go to the next one here. There we go. So this is an example of what we just walked through. So this is actually Brian's property. So if you look at this, I know it's kind of confusing sometimes looking at floor plans, but if you see this striped area, that's an existing single family property, okay? If you can see my mouse, it ended off right here. And what we did is we walled up this hallway door, and we utilized this bedroom as a part of the junior ADU. You can see it's where the bed goes and the table. And right here is your bathroom and your kitchen. So we did add 150 square feet right here to the bedroom in order to accommodate about 305 square feet. So again, we utilized one of the bedrooms within the single family house. We added 150 square feet, and now we have a studio here, okay? The front house was a 4-bedroom, 2-bath before, now, or excuse me, 2.5. And now it is a 3, 2.5. So you can kind of see the existing of what's there. Right here was the detached 400 square foot garage, which we built the 1-bedroom, 1-bath unit, which again, that's the one that we just walked through. Here's a side depiction. You can see kind of more of the elevation shot of that. This would be this area over here that we're looking at. This is the junior ADU. And then again, that's the garage that we converted. So hopefully this floor plan makes a bit sense to you guys. But again, if you have questions, we can talk about that later. Some multifamily examples. Again, I know a lot of you might not want to know about multifamily, or you just want to know about single family, but I think multifamily has a huge opportunity here for ADUs. The rule is not to get into too much detail, but there's 2 ways you can build ADUs with multifamily. The first way is they'll allow you to build 2 freestanding ADUs up to 800 square feet out of existing space. So if your multifamily lot had enough open space to build those ADUs, they're going to let you build that. The second way you can build ADUs out of multifamily is they're going to allow you 25% of the existing unit count. So pretty much what you can do is, let's say like this unit right here, right? This was a total of 16 units before. You can see that this is kind of the plot map that shows there's units up here, and then there's 4 units in back. Well, what we did here is we converted 3 garage spaces into 2 ADUs. So you can see these are 2 studios. And technically, the owner could have done more than that, but he didn't want to disrupt all the parking. So he did keep some of the garages in the back. These were more used as a storage space anyways, so it's kind of dead space. But again, we utilized 3 garages into 2 studios. And again, just to reiterate the 25% rule, let's say you had 4 ADUs, they're going to let you do 1 ADU, since that's 25% out of non-livable space. Non-livable space is a garage, it's a storage room, it's a space where nobody lives in. Okay, so again, if you had 4, it's 1. If you had 8, it's 2 ADUs, and so on. So essentially, if you had a 100-unit building and you had enough garages to convert, they would let you technically do 25 ADUs. So again, you can kind of see how big of an opportunity that is if you do any multifamily. Here's the example that I just showed you. So to the left here was the 3 garages that's what it looked like before. There's units up top. And then up top here, you can see that's the finished ADUs that we did. You can see the 2 doors, and then this is the interior. So these are 2 studios. They're about 300 square feet each, which we were kind of limited on space. But again, it shows you what we can do with that space. So steps with building an ADU. So first, we hop on the phone. I'll pull up your property on the Google Maps. We'll go over any details. From that point, if you want me to come out to the property, I do a site inspection, which includes a proposal. I include a ADU inspection report, and then I also include a plot map with one of our designs that shows exactly how far we're trenching for your utilities. That way you can kind of visualize where that ADU is going to go and where we're going to trench. I do charge an inspection fee for that. Personally, I charge a $350 inspection fee to go out. that goes towards your build if you guys decide to move forward. So kind of like a plumber, you have a service call, pay for that. And then once you guys decide to move forward, again, that will get credited back. Site inspection. So once we do the site inspection, again, excuse me, that's when I take all the notes, pictures, and measurements to figure out, the feasibility of building the ADU. Right here, I start the construction, start pre-construction phase, which is everything you need to do as far as pulling your permit. So your architecture, your engineering, your Title 24. Once we're done with that and we get full approval, we're ready to start construction. And then once we start construction, you're ready to either rent your unit out or you're ready to move a family member back. So average timeline, this is always changing. It depends on your job and it really depends on your jurisdiction. There's some cities that are more favorable than others. For example, I'll never do a job in Compton ever again. The way that city operates and just how awful the process has been. We've been doing construction on a job there for, going on a year when it should only take about, 7 months or so. So there's certain cities that are better than others. With that being said, in all, you're looking at about 12 to 15 months total for design build. Your pre-construction could be anywhere from 5 to 7 months. Your construction could be anywhere from 5 to 8. Again, we've done some in 4. We've also done some in, pushing on a year if you're in Compton. It just really depends, but these are average timelines. Heads up, separate meters. If you guys are doing separate, let's say electrical meters, that could add another month or so, just depending on how busy Edison is. We cannot pass final inspection until we get those meters installed. So just a heads up, if you do plan on getting separate meters, it adds another month or so to your project. Here's some basic floor plans. So again, this kind of shows you what we can do with space. I'm updating our website here in the next few weeks with some more floor plans that we've done. That way you guys can get inspiration or just check it out. Here's another ADU garage conversion we did. And it's that same song because I don't want to hear myself breathing. And so, but this was a 360 square foot garage. They're not renting this out. They're moving their mom back. But again, this is in Lakewood and you can see it's a pretty nice, as far as layout wise, I really like this design. But it gives you kind of a feel for what it looks like. And it's hard to imagine sometimes what the space looks like because you can't walk in your garage and really imagine this. But, once it's completed, it's pretty surprising. And again, we always put a stackable washer and dryer, or we recommend putting a stackable washer and dryer within the units. So there's that. And then financing options. So obviously the rates are pretty high right now, as a lot of you know. We've seen a lot of cash out refinances. We've seen HELOCs. We've also seen home renovation loans. Now, any of these are, a lot of these are going to have their advantages and disadvantages. I'm not a lender, so I can't really discuss that. What I will say is that no matter what, any of these financing options is going to tap into some sort of equity. So whether that's your, home that you live in or another property you own, they're going to use your property as collateral. Okay, so you're going to need some equity in order to finance these projects. Again, talk to a lender about, I do have recommendations. I'm sure Stephanie does as well, but talk to a lender specifically about your situation to figure out what works best.
Yeah, we do have preferred lenders that we work with. I'll say this morning I did a podcast with a self-directed IRA specialist. And what she mentioned that I thought was pretty creative was if any of you have a self-directed IRA and you have funds in that account, you can also use that to fund your project or fund someone else's project and essentially become the bank, right, to fund that. That's just another creative way because as Cameron mentioned, I think the biggest hurdle right now is how do we fund these types of projects, right? And so if you don't have enough equity, HELOC's not going to be an option. And if you do a renovation loan, the rates are just extremely high, right? So how do we find a creative way to sort of fund the projects? And that's one of them. That just wanted to throw that out there.
Yeah, great point. And then, so that's pretty much it. Again, I wanted to keep it kind of limited. I mean, there's a lot more to know about this, but in case you have questions or want to follow us, here's my information to the left. So you can save my number in your phone as the ADU guy. And then to the right, Instagram, just at ADU West Coast. That's the best way to follow our work, see what we've done, see what we're currently doing. I pretty much post there every day. And then Facebook, website, and our YouTube is just all ADU West Coast. I also put a lot of YouTube videos out that are pretty informative, so feel free to check that out. But with that, I'll leave it open to some chat or some questions, excuse me.
Thanks, Cameron.
Yeah.